one of the places I most want to visit in my life. Mars. Of course, for now, that doesn't seem very possible. The second place I most want to go is Antarctica. Specifically, a certain region of Antarctica. I'll explain exactly where in just a moment, but is it even possible? Because some people claim that traveling to Antarctica is forbidden. Antarctica is one of the most fascinating places on Earth. It is known as the seventh continent, but in terms of size, it actually ranks fifth. It is almost twice the size of Australia and larger than Europe. I probably don't need to mention that it's the coldest place on the planet. At the same time, it's also the windiest and driest place. Yes, I said dry. Technically, Antarctica is a desert. In fact, there's a place where it hasn't rained for 2 million years, the driest place on Earth, and that's exactly where I want to go. It's called the McMurdo Dry Valleys, an area of 4,800 square kilometers where there is not even snow. The reason for this is the katabatic winds seen in Antarctica. Cold air in the atmosphere above the continent. When it descends vertically about 10,000 meters, that's what creates these icy winds. These winds sometimes blow in the dry valleys at speeds reaching 320 kilometers per hour, carrying away all the moisture in the area. Scientists have found animals that died here hundreds of years ago, perfectly mummified, looking as if they had died only yesterday. Scientists have been able to reach these places and make such amazing discoveries. But what about ordinary people? Can't we go there too? 200 years ago, in 1818, you definitely couldn't. In fact, you couldn't even ask the question, is it forbidden to go to Antarctica? Because the existence of such a continent wasn't even known. Look, not 200, but even 400 years ago. You could ask whether it was possible to go to Mars. For thousands of years, astronomers from the Chinese to the Iraqis had been observing this planet. In 1610, Galileo even used a telescope to study its poles. But at that time, Galileo had no idea that the planet he lived on contained a fifth continent. There were, of course, legends and theories suggesting that such a continent must exist. But no one actually saw or knew it until a Russian expedition in 1820, and the southern pole within that continent wasn't reached until almost a century later, in 1911, just 58 years before our first steps on the moon. So this is a place about which we know very little. And as humans, the less we know about something, the more we tend to have opinions about it. And while having opinions can be fine, it also allows for all sorts of conspiracy theories to emerge. Want mysterious massive objects, pyramids, spaceships from aliens? Antarctica has become one of the most popular lands for every kind of fantasy in its short, newly discovered history. Of course, we shouldn't forget those who claim that, because the world is flat, the snow-covered perimeter around Antarctica is actually a natural barrier boundary. The common thread among all these conspiracy theories is the idea that there is something mysterious there, and that these mysteries are being hidden from us, making it supposedly forbidden or impossible to visit. The second part of this claim is completely wrong. Antarctica is not forbidden to visit. In fact, you don't even need a visa to go there, because Antarctica is the only continent without a country. It is not politically tied to any nation. Just like the moon, just like Mars, if we go, it belongs to all of us. If we don't, it belongs to none of us. In other words, there's a continent there, but even if we don't visit it or see it, we can't claim that's our continent. But if we go, does it become ours? A few hundred years ago, during the age of colonization, countries could claim with ease that any land they visited belonged to them. Indeed, even after the age of colonization, in the 1900s, the British tried to claim Antarctica because of their explorations. Soon after, France, Norway, Germany, and many other countries said, well, we are exploring too, so we have rights as well. These territorial claims and disputes continued until the mid-20th century, until 1956. That year, New Zealand, which was established on one of the last lands to be discovered, declared that Antarctica should belong to all humanity, and rightly so. In 1959, many countries came together and signed the Antarctic Treaty. Today, a total of 53 countries are parties to this treaty. According to it, you cannot conduct military activities on the continent. You cannot mine for resources. You cannot carry out nuclear activities. Only scientific research is allowed. And to protect the environment, strict rules and regulations have been established, including toilet rules. Not literally 50 cents, of course, but rules about human waste have been carefully designed and costly measures implemented to minimize any potential environmental harm. But this treaty, the Antarctic Treaty, does not forbid anyone from visiting the continent, no matter their nationality. You can go any time, anywhere, even to the South Pole. So, if it's so easy, and it's one of the places in the world you most want to visit, why haven't you gone yet? The reason is simple and a little emotional. Does anyone know someone at Polar Cruises? I've been looking for discounted tickets. At any given time of the year, at least 1,000 people live in Antarctica. Most of them are scientists conducting research. By the way, regarding scientific research, Antarctica has become a hub for international exploration. Every year, dozens of research teams from around the world travel there to study the continent's extreme environment. The conditions are harsh. Temperatures can drop below -80 degrees Celsius, but scientists continue to make incredible discoveries. One notable site is Inan Peak, a 2,451-meter-high summit named after a pioneering researcher who conducted groundbreaking studies on Antarctica's atmosphere in the 1980s. From this peak, if you travel about 100 kilometers north, you'll see a dark patch in the otherwise bright white snow and ice, the McMurdo Dry Valleys. This is why it's considered one of the most fascinating places on Earth. It's mysterious, but not the kind of mystery that spawns endless conspiracy theories. It's a place to explore, study, and walk on. These valleys are the driest and coldest lands on the planet. In fact, a 2016 study declared it the first and only place on Earth completely free of microbial life. Because of these extreme conditions, scientists have declared the dry valleys the region that most closely resembles Mars. So while we may not be able to go to Mars yet, this is the closest we can get on Earth, and that makes it incredibly exciting. At the literal end of the world, the dry valleys also offer a perfect environment for research on extreme climates and even the possibilities of extraterrestrial life. And the best part? Visiting is not forbidden, and imagining or dreaming about it is completely free. The only real barrier to exploration is in our own minds. You can't colonize Antarctica, but you can explore and conquer it through science. Perhaps one day someone will make their mark on those mysterious lands north of Inan Peak. Who knows what discoveries await?